Hello there, Antichrist magazine. We are Slaughtersword from Piteå, Sweden. And my name is Kalle Lindgren. I'm the lead singer and drummer. And to my left you have Victor Berggren, which is the bass player and the backup vocalist. And after him you have Robin Pettersson, who is the second guitarist and backing vocalist, and after him you have Tobias Lindström, who is the lead guitarist and backing vocalist. And we play thrash metal. We've been together for a little under a year now. We all came together thanks to an ad put in by Tobias in a group on Facebook catered to musicians up here in Norrbotten, basically all of Norrbotten, because it's well, it's not a physically small place, but it's a very sparsely populated place, so you might as well just put every egg in the basket. And the name Slaughtersword was suggested by me because I think a thrash metal band needs a short and punchy and in-your-face name. You know, like no fucking black metal style. Vobiscum satanicus demonicus infernalus. More like nuclear assault, napalm death, cryptic slaughter, you know, short and to the point, death hammer. That's thrash metal to me.
Since most of our gigs have been cancelled or postponed, most of our time goes to songwriting and rehearsing our previous songs. The current situation here in Norrbotten is not that different from the usual. There's less people out, no gigs, that's about it. But here in northern Sweden we don't recognize anything different because of the corona. Our debut EP on Civil and Speed was released on the 20th of January 2020. We started writing the songs the summer of 2019. First song that was written was Sudden Terror. After that was Cut on the Tall Trees. And after that was Thermonuclear Holocaust. And after that was Alien Annihilation. In October, mid-October, we went into the studio with Ronnie from Dustfall, and we recorded our EP over one weekend, and then we released it on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon. Yeah, I think that's about it.
I am the main lyricist of the band, mainly because as a lead singer it's very important for me to get a feel for the lyrics, because as most of you know, you can't just put down 500 to 1,000 words on a piece of paper and just say, there, that's the lyrics. You need to have vocal hooks, you need to make sure that it fits the music, both thematically and literally to the music. You know, there's enough syllables to go with the riffs and shit like that. But I'm a quite big fan of writing anyway. I read a lot. I'm interested in prose and poetry for its own sake beyond just musical lyrics. But so I view the process of writing like Stephen King has said, that he views every single word as an equally important building block in the body of the text. Just like how I suspect a lead guitarist like Tobias views every note that goes into a solo. Everyone is just as important to the other one, because everyone gives you a certain emotion or a feeling. My favorite lyricists in metal are guys that can do just that, like Dave Mustaine. Whenever I hear a Megadeth song and I listen to what Dave is singing about, I always am struck just at how talented he is, both at crafting words and making the words go with the music. Like most of you probably know the Megadeth song The Conjuring, when he starts by singing, and I gotta sing it like Dave.
Welcome to this sanctuary sect of worship. Feel at home in our black conventicle as we anathematize of those who oppose us.
And the word anathematize is spelled anathematize, but he shortens it like anathematize just to go with the music. And that's just brilliant, I think. And beyond that, he writes very political lyrics, and I'm very opposed to his politics. He seems like a very right-wing guy, and I'm very left-wing. But when he writes political songs like United Abominations, I just feel like I'm on your side, Dave. So that's the way I think about lyrics. They have to fit the music thematically and structurally, and every word has to make you feel something. Other bands that have good lyrics are Death, Forbidden, Napalm Death to a certain extent. And we have just written a song called The Declonius, which we recorded in the studio a while ago, and when it releases a single. And the lyrics to that song, I thought, when I first heard the music, I thought, well, it didn't really fit the riff, because I originally wrote a riff in MIDI, which I set the lyrics to, and then I presented that riff to the guitarists of the band so they could work from it. And of course I gave them free hands to do whatever they want, because they're the actual musicians and I'm just the guy with a MIDI program. But the lyrics are inspired by an anime called Elfenlied, and a character in that anime who is named Lucy, and she's just this sort of sheer force of violence and destruction that just wipes out everything that's in front of her. So I wanted the music to sort of represent that. I was looking for something like really fast and badass and aggressive, like Pleasure to Kill by Creator or Show No Mercy by Slayer. And the riff we have now, I think, is more like Agent Steel. It is fast, it is aggressive, but it's very upbeat, it's very major key almost. But I'm not complaining, because I think the song as a whole is really fucking awesome. And that hopefully explains a little bit about how I view lyrics and write lyrics. The cover art to Unsafe at Any Speed was created by a friend of mine named Martin Rotima. And I've known him for about 15 years or something. And he's a really talented artist. We went to the same school, and both him and I went to art school. Not art school as people do it in other countries, or as people think of it in other countries, like going to college or university or something. We in Sweden, when we go to high school, it's almost like college in a way, because you choose like courses that you want to do on the high school. And me and another friend, we chose art and crafts as our course. And it was there that I met Martin. And as I said, a really talented guy. You should check out his DeviantArt. It's called Tengu Lord of Trolls. Right now he's trying to move to Boden, which is a city near us, because he wants to design art for video games. And there's a course there which allows you to do that. And he's very inspired, like me, by everything 80s. We're fucking crazy about the 80s, him and I. Not just the music, but everything. The movies, the cartoons that came out there, especially the cartoons in his case. He's a big fan of G.I. Joe and Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers and stuff like that. And of course, all the good anime that came in the 80s, like Ghost in the Shell and Akira and stuff like that. So when I commissioned that artwork, I said, you know that scene in RoboCop when Ed 209, the big killer robot, shoots the guy with the gun, so he is like pushed out the window and he just explodes and there's blood and guts everywhere. I want you to draw something like this, but instead of a guy in a suit, it's a heavy metal dude with a battle vest and a guitar in his hand. And that's the end product you see today. And I think it's a pretty fucking killer artwork. I think today, with all the like new wave of traditional heavy metal bands and the new wave of thrash metal bands we have, all of them have such sick covers to their albums. Of course, we all are big fans of the 80s with guys like Ed Repka and Necrolord, although I think he was more active in the 90s. Yeah, really talented guy, really kick-ass killer artwork.
Well, it can be quite important to have a record label, but it depends. You have guys like the YouTube guys, Rob Scallon and such, that have got quite a name for himself without having a record deal. But it might certainly help, but we're not really in that situation right now, so it would be nice, but we'll see what the future holds.
One gig have been cancelled because the coronavirus.
Well, we had a few technical difficulties, nothing that's really big changing or something like that, we have to start over. We had a moment in Umeå when we played there, when we were playing, I don't remember what song it was, but it was quite cool when you looked out to the crowd and you see a mosh pit starting in the back. It was quite cool.
Yeah, that was an epic moment.
Yeah, it was quite epic.
Epic moment.
Epic moment.
Yeah.
Probably the best gig we ever played on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First time we had our own backdrop too.
Yeah, it was quite cool.
Yeah.
And you might see a live album made of that
Yeah.
sometime in the future,
Mm.
but very far in the future in that case, because it's really freaking expensive. And we're broke as it is already because we just made us in.
Because only two of us have jobs.
Yeah.
Not naming names there.
Yeah.
Technically only one, I'm a college dude. Recent heavy music that I like is there's so much good shit being released, but I'm really appreciative of the new wave of traditional heavy metal scene that's still around, and the new wave of thrash metal that's been around for, it feels like 10 years now almost. And called Ambush, which is like very Judas Priest inspired. Think like British Steel era, but much heavier. No fucking pop bullshit like Living After Midnight. I fucking hate that song. And they released an album in 2014 called Firestorm. Highly recommended. Very, very heavy, high energy album. And then there's a Japanese band called Hellhound, which is also playing traditional heavy metal, but it's very adjacent to speed metal. Also very, very fast, very powerful. Great vocalist. He sounds a lot like the guy from Overkill. What's his name? Bobby Blitz or whatever the guy's name is. It seems like this, so I'm screaming! And if you think Manowar are obsessed with metal, then wait till you see Hellhound, because like every song title they have is called heavy metal something, like heavy metal fill in the blank. I'm not even kidding, there's like heavy metal education, heavy metal highway, heavy metal this, heavy metal that. And that's the way it's supposed to be. I mean, posers, you fucking need not apply. And the third band I like to mention is a band that's somewhat close to us. They're based partially in Skellefteå and partially in Florida. And that's a band called Slaughtersword. If you are familiar with the video game streaming YouTube channel called Vinesauce, you might know this band because their guitarist and lead vocalist Joel Johansson is streaming on Vinesauce under the name Vargskeletor, and he also makes music under that name, and he's known for his really special sense of humor. But Slaughtersword is a great band, great sort of death thrash esque music. Just once again, like Hellhound, like Ambush, no fucking excuses, no bullshit, no like post this, post that, or like just hipster crap. Just pure energy from start to finish. And I do believe they're using a drum machine, which I usually hate, but I can make an exception in this case because everything else is just so good. And oh, I forgot to mention what the name of the album was. Toxic Minds. They released it in 2016. Check that out, it's on Spotify and everywhere else. Great album. Fourth album I like to mention is a band which have been very influential to Slaughtersword as a whole, and that's Toxic Holocaust with their album Chemistry of Consciousness from 2013. Just highly energetic, great lyrics. I think Joel Grind is one of the, also a really great lyricist. I really should have mentioned him in the first question. And I think as of recently, it seems like Toxic Holocaust have sort of slackened their pace a little bit. Their latest album, Primal Future 2019, it really wasn't that aggressive. It was good, but really no like bangers on it. I mean, my favorite album by Toxic Holocaust, which I didn't mention now because I don't think it's that recent, is An Overdose of Death from 2008. I mean, like, think of an action movie with only action scenes. That's that album is the musical equivalent of that. And I think on Chemistry of Consciousness, he sort of reached his peak, and I say him because Toxic Holocaust really is a one-man band. He reached his peak when it came to that stuff, and still did not sacrifice the hooks and the sort of just headbanging value of the album as a whole, because that's important to me. Even though I talk a lot about aggressiveness and stuff like that, I always want a hook. I don't just want an impenetrable mess when I listen to metal. I want to be able to access it at least somewhat. So yeah, great album. Standout tracks are, for me, are MK Ultra, Acid Fuzz, the title track. Really, really great album. Love Toxic Holocaust. And my last pick is an album which I actually discovered today, thanks to the YouTube algorithm. I saw this, going back to what I said about great album covers, I saw this album with like some sort of robot killer horse with miniguns for arms. And I thought I gotta listen to this. And the album is called Motorized Horses by Steeds of Fury, a traditional metal band from Brazil. Really great vocals. Sort of bluesy, almost hard rocking in some places. Really reminded me of Samson. Early Samson is one of my favorite bands, easily my favorite new wave of British heavy metal band. So check that out too. Motorized Horses, the name of the album, by Steeds of Fury. That's my 5 picks for great recent metal.
The one album that I like is The Great War of Sabaton. Sabaton have a sound that I like, the heavy drums and the guitarist. Really good.
Well, a few recent albums that caught my eye there. Oakley Dokley, Howdy Toodly, their latest release there. It's a quite cool album with catchy hooks, and it's quite cool how they had all the Simpsons references in their songs, even though they don't sing happy music. It's all growling and screaming and stuff. It's really cool. And I enjoyed Ginger's latest release. They have quite good tempo changes and still are really heavy. And the lead singer there, she's just wonderful how she can go from clean vocals to really growly scream. It's quite cool. I saw them live last year, and it was fucking amazing to see what they can do live and in the studio. And I have to also put in our first Swedish band there. I also saw last year. They're called Leak. They have put out a new album 2018. It's called Carnage. It was really good. And they put out a single a few months ago called Rebel in Core. That's really good also. And they're a death metal band from Stockholm. They're really cool to listen to, and they're quite a show to see live. And they are also in the studio right now and recording their next album. I think it's their 3rd one. It will surely be a cool experience.
My songwriting and just experience in metal comes from the old school stuff, the early 80s to the late 90s, but some of the later records that inspired me a lot is Exodus' newest record, Blood In Blood Out, 2014, 16, I don't really know. And as Kalle said before, Toxic Holocaust is a major influence to all of us. Even Never Dies and Overdose of Death, all of those are very good albums. So those are the albums that inspire me the most. Toxic Holocaust and Exodus' newer stuff. The songwriting, especially in Exodus case, are phenomenal. The vocals are amazing. The lyrics are also very nice and very well written. Yeah, that's the two main bands that influenced me the most in their newer music.
We have the plan for the future is, I think, more gigs and record more songs in the studio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, to sum it all up, that's us, that's Slaughtersword. We'd like to thank Antichrist for giving us a chance to do this interview, very cool, and check us out on our Facebook, our Instagram, and of course you can find our music on Spotify, Amazon, Tidal, you know, the usual shit. And keep your eyes peeled for our single, The Declonius, which will most likely drop in about 1 month from now.
Yeah.
So, later.